Let me first give all praise and all honor to the God of my ancestors, the God of Africa, the Almighty Amen-Ra. This is your brother Radio 1 coming back at you again with another video of truth and historical reality. Now, the name of this video is Debunking Judean MsShayla on the Negroes. Yes, Judean MsShayla is a user on YouTube who claims to be a Hebrew Israelite, or a so-called Hebrew Israelite as I would call it. And Judean MsShayla also has a big following of over 30,000 subscribers. And she has deserved that following because she has put in the work in keeping her subscribers up to date on what's going on in Africa and trying to teach them about Hebrew Israelite history. And we love our sister Judean MsShayla because she is a beautiful person on the inside and outside. But the ancestors are upset with Judean MsShayla. Yes, Judean MsShayla, if you're watching, the ancestors are upset with you because you have turned your back on them. You have betrayed them in favor of this fake Hebrew Israelite identity. And I can tell by looking at Judean MsShayla that she has a good heart and she means well. But that does not excuse the fact that she is delusional, she is dogmatic, she is deceiving, she is miseducated, and she is teaching our people fake history. Yes. So I am going to educate you a little on history today, Judean MsShayla. Now, the Hebrew Israelites, I used to have respect for the Hebrew Israelites when I didn't know much about them, when I first ran into them. But when I found out more about them, I lost a lot of respect for the Hebrew Israelites because they do not teach real history. They are a mess. They are a mess of confusion. As a matter of fact, they are worse liars than the white man they claim to hate. Yes, I gotta say that. Okay? I gotta say that. But back to the subject. Okay, I'm going to get straight to the point. I won't be long, but I will be strong. Now, Judean MsShayla has recently made a video about the Negroes and the Hamites. And on that video, she tried to say that the Negroes or the ancestors of Black Americans were not Hamites or not Africans. But on that video, she got everything wrong. Yes, Judean MsShayla, on that video, you got everything wrong about the Hamites and the Negroes. You know why? Because you failed to go back to the origin. Yes, you disregarded going back to the origin of the Negro people, and you put late history before ancient history. Yes, that's what the Hebrew Israelites do. That's what the Hebrew Israelites are guilty of. Okay, they put late pseudo-history before ancient history. In other words, they acknowledge late pseudo-history and reject ancient history. Yes, this is what they do. And you cannot do that, Judean MsShayla. You have violated when you do that. No, it does not work like that. That is the wrong way of doing it. And I'm going to call you out on it today. Now, in rejecting ancient history and acknowledging late history, okay, putting late history before ancient history is like saying that your mother came before your grandmother, or your grandmother came before your great-grandmother. Or like saying that the car existed before the horse and the chariot, or the gun existed before the bow and the arrow. It's all wrong. That's not the way you teach history. You always put the ancient first. And if the later history does not correspond with what the ancient history is saying, you disregard the later history. You never do it the other way around. You never disregard the ancient history and acknowledge the late history. No, you have violated when you've done that. That is wrong. That is falsehood at its best. And that is something that the white man or the racist white supremacist has been doing for a long time. And now the Hebrew Israelite is doing it more than anybody. Yes. So this is why I say the Hebrew Israelites are not certified to teach history, because they are going to make everything Hebrew. Everything they teach, they're going to say, this is Hebrew, that is Hebrew. Everything, especially everything African, they're going to call it Hebrew. And that's why their teachings are so false, so pseudo, and so corrupt. It makes no sense. Hebrew Israelites, my Hebrew Israelite brothers, I love y'all. I love my Hebrew Israelite brothers and sisters. Okay? And I really don't blame you. I blame the elders. And I blame the racist white supremacists who started this lie. And you, Hebrew Israelite brothers today, are repeating this lie. And I'm here to debunk it. Yes, you are all my brothers and sisters, and I love y'all. And you are all victims, like the rest of us, of racism and white supremacy. You are all victims. You are all oppressors like the rest of us. So we are all in this together. But I have to call you out on your falsehood. I have to debunk your lies. I'm not attacking you. I'm attacking your lies, Judean MsShayla and the rest of my Hebrew Israelite brothers and sisters, because you are all miseducated on this subject. And Judean MsShayla, I know that you are used to your subscribers and your fans coming onto your page, congratulating you, saying, "Oh, sister, congratulations. Thank you for teaching this." But I'm not here to do that. That's what I do not do. I am Mr. Disagreeable. Okay? I am the one that is hard to convince. If you want to convince me on something, you better come with it. You better come with some hard facts. Yes. Because I am Mr. Agreeable. I am Mr. Disagreeable. Okay? I'm not going to do that to you. I'm here to criticize you. I'm here to debunk your lies. I'm here to get to the bottom of this. I'm here for truth and truth only. So, but without further ado, okay, we're going to get off into what the word Negro means. Okay, today I'm going to educate Judean MsShayla on who are the Negroes. And I'm not going to read a 1,000-page book to prove my point. All I'm going to do is go back to the origins of the Negroes. Yes, the origins. Okay? Because a lot of what Judean MsShayla was saying on her video all stems from late history. Okay? And to keep it real, I'm going to tell you right now and just keep it 100. Okay? This claim that the Negroes are Hebrews goes no further back than 150 to 200 years. Okay? It goes no further back than that. Yes. Trust me when I say that. It was made up. It is a made up lie. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the origin of who the Negroes were. Okay? It's like I said, I won't be long, but I will be strong. And when we deal with the origins of the Negro people, some people say that the Negroes were first mentioned in the 14th century AD, 1500s AD. No, that is a lie. Now, but still, the records that mentions the Negroes in the 1500s and the 1400s AD during the height of the Atlantic slave trade never calls them Hebrews. Yes, it never calls them Hebrews. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the earlier sources that mentions the Negroes. Who were the Negroes? Okay, this is what Judean MsShayla failed to show you. And this is why everything that Judean MsShayla said about the Negroes was false, because she failed to go back to the origin. You have to stick to the records and go back to the origin, or otherwise everything else you say is not going to make any sense. Okay? And the Hebrew Israelites are just, they're going about it the wrong way. You're teaching history the wrong way. A lot of historians, are even in the Hamitic community, they put in this late history first. This late made up history. They putting it before the original history. But let's get off into it. Now, when we deal with the Negro people, okay, they were not first mentioned in the 1500s and 1400s AD. No. We can go back further than that. We can go back almost 1400 years before 1400 AD on the Negro people. Yes. And one of the earliest sources we're going to be dealing with today is from this book right here. Okay? You see that? It's called Claudius Ptolemy, the Geography. And Claudius Ptolemy lived during the 1st century AD. Yeah, about 100 AD, 100 to 150 AD. Okay, almost 2,000 years ago. And this predates anything that the Hebrew Israelites are teaching today. Yes, it predates it by over 1,800 years. Okay, over 1,700 years. Very, very, very ancient compared to what the sources they citing from. Yes. So Claudius Ptolemy wrote in the 1st century AD. And we're going to go to his book 4. Okay, this is Geography. Okay, Claudius Ptolemy, Geography. And in his book 4, okay, chapter 4, he mentions the people of ancient Libya. So you see that? Let me make sure. Yeah. The people of ancient interior Libya. Let me put it close up. Okay, now you see that. You can pause it if you want to and read it. But he speaks of the people of ancient interior Libya. Now, Libya in ancient times, okay, was the same as Africa. Okay, Africa derived from Libya. It was the same location. And Libya was all the land west of the Nile River. Yes, it was all the land west of Egypt and west of Kush. Libya or Africa was not the entire continent of the ancient world. No, the ancients divided Africa into 3 parts. Okay, Egypt, Ethiopia, and Libya. Now, Libya was like the giant of the African continent. It was like the Hulk of the African continent. Yes, that big old vast region west of the Nile River, from east to west, was 3,000 miles long. And from north to south, okay, from east to west, yes, let me say that again. From east to west, from the west bank of the Nile to the Atlantic Ocean, it was 3,000 miles long. And from north to south, from the Mediterranean Sea all the way down to Cameroon, it was over 2,000 miles long. So it was the biggest, vastest region of Africa. Yes, it was the broadest region of Africa. And that region of Africa that sits in between the Nile and the Red Sea was considered as Egypt and Ethiopia, and it was a very narrow region. But Libya took up the majority of the African continent. And he speaks on the people of ancient Libya. Now, in yes, book 4, Ptolemy, book 4, chapter 6, the location of interior Libya. He goes on to say, interior Libya is bounded on the north by Mauritania, Africa, and Cyrenaica, or Cyrene. Okay, this is modern day Libya, modern day Tunisia, Algeria, and Morocco. So it's talking about, it was bounded on the north, or the most southern limits of Libya, Morocco, and Algeria. And it goes on to say, on the east, it is bounded on the east by Ethiopia below Egypt, or Ethiopia south of Egypt. Yes. So it was on the east of it was Ethiopia south of Egypt, and on the north of it was the southern boundaries of Libya, Tunisia, Algeria, and Morocco. That's what he's saying, okay? And he goes on to say it is bounded on the west by the Western Ocean, which is the Atlantic, the southern Atlantic, okay? Then he goes on to say right here, the other large river, okay, he mentions the river. The other large river is the Niger River, flowing from the Madras Mountains and the Thala Mountains, okay? So he mentions this large river called the Niger River, okay? The Niger River already mentioned in 150 AD, long before 1400 and 1500 AD, yes. But let's go further, okay? Then he goes on to say later, okay, Gutilia was south of Morocco. It was the entire Sahara Desert that separated the Niger River and the Senegal rivers from the Berber people on the Mediterranean. Yes, it was talking about the entire desert. Okay, then it goes on to say, Gutilia is located below or south of Mauritania, the desert of Libya below Africa and Cyrene. The great races which inhabited interior Libya are the Garamantes, extending from the sources of the Bagradas River to the Nuba Lakes, in the race of the Melon Gatuli, or the Black Gatuli, who occupy the land which is between the Sagapalo Mountains and the Usar Gala Mountains, in the Ethiopian race of the Giri, who dwell toward the south of the Gir River, in the Ethiopian race of the Negrite, who are north of the Niger River, or the Niger River. Yes, so we see here, according to Ptolemy, he mentions the people called Negrite, and he calls them an Ethiopian race. And he says the name of their river was the Niger or Niger River, okay? These are the ancestors of the Negroes. Okay, this is where the word Negro derives from. Yes. So the Negro people were the people that dwelt on the Niger River. And I'm going to show you right here. Just don't take my word for it. Okay, look at here. Let me point to it. So you see where where my finger is pointed at? Look at there. It says Negrite. Okay, you can pause it. Take a closer look. Negrite, and it calls them an Ethiopian race. Okay? Look at that. Read it. That's straight from the book, the Negrite. So let's read that again. Okay? It mentions them in the Ethiopian race of the Negrite, who are north of the Niger River, or the Niger River. So we see here, according to Ptolemy, long before the Atlantic slave trade, long before Islam, long before the Portuguese and the Spanish came to the west coast of Africa, we see here the Negroes, or the Negrite, are called an Ethiopian race, not a Hebrew race. Now, the Ethiopian race were Hamitic. They were Hamites. They were the same race as the people on the Nile River. Okay? They were the same race as the Nubians, who are a mixture of Egyptian and Ethiopian. Yes, not Hebrew. So we see Judean MsShayla. Okay? I have answered your question on who are the Negroes. And also when you go to Pliny, the Roman historian, who goes by the name of Pliny the Elder, he says also that the Negro or the Negrite are an Ethiopian nation. Yes, go look it up. It's in Pliny the Elder, book 5, chapter 8. He says that the Negroes are an Ethiopian nation. So we see here, long before this lie or this myth about the Negroes being Hebrews, long before that, we see here that the Negro people were Ethiopian. So, my Hebrew Israelite brothers and sisters, you have to give up this lie. You have to start connecting with your Ethiopian, your East African and West African brothers and sisters on the continent. In Judean MsShayla, you can say that you're not trying to cause division all you want, but you are. Yes, you are causing division by saying that we are Hebrew Israelites or we are Shemites. That's who we are, and forget about those Africans. They are Hamites. They have nothing to do with us. But yet, our people came from the African continent. Now, if you was over there in Israel or anywhere in Asia, okay, then you can say that. Then you can say, yeah, forget about those Africans. We Israelites, we from Shem. But you're on the continent of Africa. You can't say that. Okay, even if you are an Israelite or a Shemite in Africa, you cannot say that. But truth is, no, we are not Shemites. Now, when we deal with Israelites or Shemites dwelling amongst Hamites in Africa, as Judean MsShayla said, okay, this was going on in East Africa, because the Bible makes it clear that the Israelites fled into East Africa and settled in Egypt and Cush, which is East Africa, not West Africa. These people called Hebrew Israelites, they never reached West Africa. And during a later time, we find them mentioned in Northwest Africa, in Morocco and Algeria, and they settled amongst the Moors and the Berbers there, but never in West Africa. Yes, they never settled in West Africa. So even when we speak of Israelites and Shemites, or Shemites dwelling amongst Hamites and Africans, this was taking place in East Africa, not West Africa. Okay, West Africa was inhabited, were descendants of people from the Nile. They were the same race as the Eastern Hamites. Okay, West Africa was just the land of the Western Hamites. Yes, some people try to say Northern Hamites. Those are all fake, false terms. Okay, they were Western Hamites, or Western Africans. So we see here that according to the Claudius Ptolemy geography, that the Negro people of West Africa, meaning the people to the deep south of Morocco, okay, beyond the Sahara Desert, the Negro people were an Ethiopian race. They were not a Hebrew, Israelite, or Jew race. Never. So, and also we're going to touch on another subject, okay, and then we're going to close it out. Okay, now according to Judean MsShayla, her husband is an African. And she says that her husband is a Hebrew African. Okay? And every African that she talks to, or many Africans that she talks to, claim to be Hebrew. Sister, listen to me carefully. Okay? Listen to me when I speak some sense into you. Okay? Those Africans who you talk to, and your husband as well, who claim to be Hebrew Israelites, are Christian Africans. Okay, they are Africans whose ancestors were converted into Christians by the white man. Yes, whose ancestors were given the King James Bible by the white man. So those are Christian Africans who are telling you that they are Hebrew, not African Africans. And the reason why they claim Hebrew is because they have studied the Bible and they have become fascinated and obsessed with the people of the Bible, just like our people here in America. Yes. So this Hebrew Israelite identity derives from white Christians in the Christian church. Okay, before that, there was no black people running around talking about we are Hebrew Israelites. You claim Hebrew Israelites after you was converted into Christianity and after you have read and studied the Bible. The same with the Africans. Okay? See, going back to what I said before, you're trying to put the late history before the early history, and it's not making any sense. You're trying to say that thousands of years ago, before we were enslaved, the white man came with the Bible, okay, and we were Hebrew Israelites before we were enslaved. No, that is a lie, and it makes no sense. You have to stick to the dates. You have to stick to the chronology. You got it all wrong. Fix it, Judean MsShayla. Fix it, Hebrew Israelites. You're losing it. You're taking the wrong path. You're not taking the right path. You're going in the wrong path. Okay? White people, Jews, the people over there in Israel and all that, they were claiming to be Jews long before black people were claiming to be Jews. We did not become Israelites. They were claiming to be Israelites long before black people in America were claiming to be Israelites. Yes. This Hebrew Israelite identity didn't come up on us until after we were given the Bible by white Christians. That is a historical fact. Now we're dealing with real history. We're not dealing with myth anymore. Yes. So keep in mind, those Africans you talk to that claim Hebrew are Christian Africans. Okay, before the white man came into Africa with the Bible, those Africans knew nothing about an Abraham, knew nothing about a Moses, knew nothing about a Jacob, knew nothing about an Israel or a Hebrew. Okay, according to historical reality, those Africans, our ancestors who were taken as slaves, were called infidels and idolaters. Okay, meaning they followed no religion. They did not follow the religion of Christianity. They did not follow the Bible. They did not follow the Quran. That is historical fact. We're not dealing with myth anymore. That is a historical fact. That is real history. But Judean MsShayla is telling you fake history. Now, I want to touch on another thing that was mentioned by Judean MsShayla. Now, Judean MsShayla quoted from the Zondervan Bible Dictionary. Sister, again, let me make something very clear to you. The Zondervan Bible Dictionary is not a source. Okay? It is not a source. It is just what you read from the Zondervan Bible Dictionary about Ham or the descendants of Ham was just made up by the writer who wrote it. It was written in 1963. It is not a source. It gives no details. It gives no references to early sources. It is not a source. It is just a made up. It's just made up in pseudo. It's pseudo history. That's what it is. Okay, the person who wrote that Zondervan Bible Dictionary just made that up about Ham. You got it all wrong. So you made yourself look like a fool even entertaining that. That is not a source. Okay, it was written very late and it was made up. And it gave no credit to any earlier source. And it provided no details. All it said was Ham, the progenitor of the dark races, the Egyptians, the Cushites, the Libyans, the Canaanites, but not the Negroes. That's all it said. It gave no details. And on top of that, it was written very late. It is not a source. And it also does not say that the Negroes were Shemites or Israelites. That's all it says. All it tries to do was try to separate the Negroes from the Hamites, which is false. Okay? And also, it was written due to the new myth that they came up with during the early 19th centuries, which was called the Hamitic hypotheses. Okay? The Hamitic hypotheses, where they try to say that the Hamites were not even black. They tried to say that the Hamites were Caucasians. And they try to separate the West Africans from the Hamites, trying to say that the Hamites were Caucasians and they were different from the Negroes, which is a lie. It is a lie. So I can go on and on, but let's stick to the subject, and we're going to close it out. Okay? So now what we're going to do here is, okay, now speaking on how Judean MsShayla, where is that? Okay. Yes. Where is that count? Give me 1 minute, people. Okay. Here it is. Okay. One minute. I know I just had it. I know it's in here somewhere. Yes, here it is. Okay, sorry about that. Now, I'm going to show you an account from this book right here. Okay, it's called the Tariq al-Fatah, the Timbuktu Chronicles. Okay, now this book, the Tariq al-Fatah, the Chronicles of Timbuktu, was written by Islamic Africans. It was not written by African Africans. Yes, it was written during the 1500s AD. And it was written by Muslim Africans. And I'm going to show you what they had to say about their origin and ancestors. And I'm going to explain after that. Okay? From the Tariq al-Fatah, the Timbuktu Chronicles, page 50. Okay, he goes on to say, I heard my master, Cham Hurak, or Cham Haruk, say that the ancestors of the Songhai, the Wakuri, and the Wangara were all brothers from the same father and same mother. Their father was one of the kings of Yemen, who called himself Taras ibn Harun. Okay? So, I'm just going to leave it there. So they say that, let's read it again, that the ancestors of the Songhai, the Wakuri, and the Wangara were all brothers from the same father and same mother. Their father was one of the kings of Yemen. Okay? It says that he was one of the kings of Yemen. And then he goes on to say, this brother treated his brother sons in a very harsh manner. So they immigrated from Yemen and journeyed towards the coast of the Atlantic Ocean, bringing their women with them. Okay? So it is saying that the Songhai, saying that their ancestors came from Yemen. So they are claiming a Yemenite origin for themselves. Okay? This goes to show clearly that the Songhai, that these Africans of the Songhai Empire were clearly in denial of their African origin or their Hamite origin. And yet they claim a Yemenite origin. So they rejected their African origin in favor of a Yemenite origin. Now, Yemen is southern Arabia. Yes, it is southern Arabia. So, and we see here that they imagined that their ancestors came from Arabia instead of East Africa. Now, why is this? This is because they were devout Islamists. They were devout Muslims. Yes. Is the reason why they claim an Arab origin. It had nothing to do with historical reality. It had everything to do with their religion and their beliefs. Okay? So we clearly see here that these Negroes in the Muslim Songhai Empire were in denial of their African origin, and they were in favor of a Yemenite Arab origin. But truth is, their true ancestors did not come from Yemen. Okay? Because, first of all, Yemen or Arabia, before the Islamic conquest, was not sending out colonies and conquering other lands. No. Okay, the people that were doing that before them were first the Romans, okay, then the Greeks sent out colonies and conquered other lands. And before the Greeks, it was the Phoenicians. Okay, and before the Phoenicians, guess who? Before the Phoenicians, it was the Pharaohs. It was the Egyptians. Yes. It was the Egyptians who were sending out colonies to other lands. So, but historically, the only people that came from Yemen in West Africa were the Arab invaders during the Islamic conquest in the 6th century AD. Okay, that is where your Yemenite or Arab origin comes from. They were the only people who were actually from Yemen. Now we're talking historical reality. We're not talking myth. Okay, they were the only people that came from Yemen. But the true origin of the Africans were actually from Egypt. So when it says that they came from the east, they came from Yemen, actually Yemen was Egypt. Okay, because Yemen or southern Arabia was not east of West Africa in the Niger River region. Okay, the Nile River of Egypt and Kush was east of West Africa. In Arabia and southern Arabia was east of Egypt and the Nile River. So when they speak of their ancestors coming from the east, this was not Yemen. It was Egypt, as the early records say that their ancestors were Ethiopians from the Nile Valley, and it got replaced by a Yemenite origin. So you see where I'm going with. So you see where I'm going with this, with this here, okay? So we see here that the Songhai, because of their Islamic belief, or because of them being Muslims, they saw themselves as descendants of Yemen, or they saw their ancestors as coming from Yemen. This is no different from the African Americans in America. Okay, because they are Bible followers, and they was raised up reading and studying the Bible in the Christian church. They imagined that their ancestors came from Israel. Okay, no difference. Okay, it is all the same religion. Whether it's Christianity, Judaism, or Hebrew Israelite, it's all the same thing, because they all follow the same book, and they all have the same belief. You can't distinguish one from the other. It's all the same religion. And I myself, I'm not a Bible follower, okay? But what black people should pay attention to in the Bible is when it tells you in Genesis 10, chapter 6, that you are the descendants of Ham. Your ancestors were the Hamites. You were the Egyptians. Go over there. Go over and learn more about your Egyptian ancestors, okay? Israel is not for you. Yes, you can read the Bible and get to know Israel, okay? But you are not Israel. You are the Egyptians. You are the descendants of Ham. That's what the Bible is telling you. See, but It all has to do with honesty and dishonesty. See, a lot of black people who claim to be Hebrew Israelites are very dishonest. Okay, and you have some black people who are Christians and follow the Bible, but they still know that they are African. They still know that their ancestors are Africans. Okay, they still recognize that, yeah, although I follow the Bible, I'm a Christian, I still know that my ancestors were the Hamites of the Bible, of the Africans. And that's being honest. But the Hebrew Israelites, they try to take it to the extreme and be dishonest and say that, no, we are the Hebrew Israelites. And they are false in doing that. Okay? Because nowhere in the Bible and nowhere in early history do we even hear of Israelites being in West Africa. Okay? Nowhere. Now, when we deal with West Africa in the Bible, I can tell you right now, I'm going to be honest with you. West Africa in the Bible was called the land of Foot. Yes, in Libya. And those people were Hamites. They were the kinsmen of the Egyptians and the Cushites. Yes. They were descendants of colonies that left the Nile River of Egypt and Cush and migrated to West Africa. That is the historical reality. It had nothing to do with Yemenites coming over to West Africa. No. It had to do with Hamites, Africans, aka Egyptians, and Ethiopians coming over to West Africa. That is the historical reality, and I'm going to get more deeper into that subject in future videos. Okay? So, my sister Judean MsShayla, my advice to you, okay? I know it's going to be hard for you to, okay, give up this Hebrew Israelite identity, and I know you're not going to give up following the Bible, okay? Which we already done. A lot of us, we have left religion, okay? A lot of people have left religion, and we don't follow the Bible, okay? And we beat a lot of y'all to the punch. I know it's going to take some time for some of y'all to get out of this, but my advice to you, Judean MsShayla, and to the rest of my Hebrew Israelite brothers and sisters, hear me carefully, okay? My advice to you, okay, if you're going to stay a Hebrew Israelite, and you're going to stay following the Bible, at least know and acknowledge, okay, and tell other people yet that although I am a Hebrew Israelite, I adopt the Hebrew Israelite faith, and I follow the Bible, my ancestors were Africans. Yes, my ancestors were Hamites. See, a lot of people, a lot of dishonest people who follow the Bible, okay, it's not just black people, it's other races too. And if they are dishonest and they follow the Bible, they're going to claim to be a Hebrew Israelite because they are so fascinated and obsessed with being a Hebrew Israelite that they will resort to lying and distorting history in order to claim to be a Hebrew Israelite and in order to convince others that they are a Hebrew Israelite. And that's not right. That is wrong. That is wrong. Okay? And a lot of these Hebrew Israelite teachings are so corrupt. It is so corrupt. That's why I say a Hebrew Israelite is not certified to teach real history. Hebrew Israelites should sit back, shut up, and listen while the authorities and the most knowledgeable ones are teaching real history. Yes. So that's my advice to you. Okay, although you follow the Bible, you are brothers and sisters, we love you. You're all in a struggle just like us. You're victims of racism and white supremacy. You're victims of oppression. You're victims of slavery. We are all victims of this racism and white supremacy. And we must all figure this thing out and come together. And also, the Hamites are not your enemies. Okay, for those of you who claim to be a Hebrew Israelite, the Hamites, the Africans, are not your enemies anymore. Okay, although you are not a Hebrew Israelite, okay, if you're going to go with that belief, at least know that the Hamites are not your enemies. Okay, you talk about an old beef. Okay, that beef came to pass right there in Exodus. Okay, in Exodus, yes, when the Israelites and the Hamites were enemies. Okay, that's when we deal with Israelites and Hamites. That has nothing to do with the African slave trade. You can read all about that in the book of Exodus. Okay, when it says Pharaoh was oppressing and enslaving the Israelites. That's all over with. That's all said and done. That's old. And then you also read in the Bible after that the Israelites became allies with the Hamites and the Egyptians when the Assyrians and Babylonians invaded Israel. And the Israelites and the Egyptians were then allies. Okay? So stop bringing up this old stuff. Okay? But that's if you are an Israelite. But you're not even an Israelite. So when you see an African brother, stop hating on him because he's African. That is your brother. Acknowledge him as your brother. We have to stick together. That's why I do not like using these terms such as, okay, Bantu, Niger-Congo, Nilo-Saharan, and Afro-Asiatic. Okay? Those terms were made up in order to divide Africa and Africans. And they were also coined and made up by late white authorities. Yes. Late pseudo-white scholars, or the white man that lived during the 18th century and 19th century, made up those terms: Bantu, Niger-Congo, Nilo-Saharan, and Afro-Asiatic. Yes, they are all fake, made-up terms. Okay, and they make no sense. Okay, why call the Egyptians Afro-Asiatic? Egypt is in Africa. Egypt is nowhere in Asia. Where is the Asiatic coming from? And why only call the southern part of Egypt Nilo-Saharan? Okay, does the Nile River of Egypt also touches the Sahara? Why Egypt can also be called Nilo-Saharan? In Niger-Congo, okay? The Niger does not flow in the Congo. The Niger is not in the Congo. That is a false term. And also, the Niger was not called the Niger in ancient times. It was called the Nile River. So that should even be called Nilo-Saharan. But like I said, they're all fake terms. All fake history. And we have to disregard it. Okay? That's why I like calling myself Ethiopian. Because Ethiopian brings us together as one. Ethiopian unites all of Africa. All of sub-Saharan Africa. Ethiopia is a land where the pharaohs fled to. Yes, after the fall of Egypt, the pharaohs fled into Ethiopia, and the ancestors of the pharaohs are in Ethiopia. So, that is my advice to you, okay? The Hamites are not your enemies. Okay? You have to give up this lie. Okay? That is an age-old beef. So, there is a lot more I like to say, but I'm going to end it there. Yes, so now we see, okay, according to real history, historical reality, the ancestors of Black Americans, known as Negroes, Negro slaves, the Negro slaves that were taken from West Africa and brought to America, were an Ethiopian race according to the ancient sources of history. They were not Negroes, okay? So the ancestors, or the Negro ancestors of Black Americans, were not Negroes, but they were an Ethiopian race, okay? And I'm going to also read this account here, then I'm going to close out, okay? Because I have to read this. And because the reason I read it, because it predates anything that the Hebrew Israelites are saying. And it gives us so much detail, and it connects with what the ancient sources are saying. And I'm going to make it quick. This is from Leo Africanus. Okay, Judean MsShayla. Pay attention to this, okay? Because you did not mention this in your video. It is from Leo Africanus. And it goes on to say, for all the Negroes, okay, let me start over. Leo Africanus, Description of Africa, Book 1, The Origins of the Africans. And it goes on to say, for all the Negroes or black Moors take their descent from Cush, the son of Cam, who was the son of Noah. But whatsoever difference there be between the Negroes and the tawny Moors, certain it is that they all had one beginning. For the Negroes are descended of the Philistines, and the Philistines of Mizraim, the son of Cush. But the tawny Moors fetched their origins from the Sabaeans, and it is evident that Saba was begotten of Rama, the eldest son of Cush. Leo Africanus, Description of Africa, Book 1. So we see here, according to Leo Africanus, okay, which is more ancient and more accurate than what the Zondervan Bible Dictionary says. He clearly says that the Negroes were black Moors, Cushites, Egyptians, and Philistines. So he pretty much says that the Negroes were descendants of all four lineages of Ham. They were the truest of true Hamites, okay? While you had the Israelites and the Shemites in East Africa, you had the Hamites and Hamites only in West Africa. That is the historical reality. In Judean MsShayla, you have to read and study that, okay? Read and study history and know that you are an African. Although you follow the Bible, your ancestors are African, are Hamites. There's nothing wrong with that. Stop being afraid to claim your true ancestors. Stop being so afraid of the truth. Okay? We know that Egypt was very powerful. It was the most powerful empire on the planet. And a lot of you black Americans, you are afraid to claim that power. You are afraid of that truth. And that is the very power that is going to free our people and get us out of this oppression. Yes, you have to start acknowledging the truth. Know who your real ancestors are. You have people who do not even follow the Bible, do not claim to be Hebrew Israelites. And they are 10, 20 times, 50 times, 100 times more blessed than black Americans. Yes, they are on top, and black Americans are still on the bottom. And the reason why you're still on the bottom is because you're living a lie. If you want to say God is punishing you, well, he is punishing you because you're living a lie. You don't have to be blessed. You don't have to be an Israelite to be blessed. There are a lot of people who never even read the Bible, and they're blessed. They got more than you. You're still on the bottom because you're living a lie. Okay? Your liberation and your freedom lies in the truth. The truth shall set you free. Stop being afraid of the truth. Stop being afraid of your ancestors. And when we deal with West Africa, it had nothing to do with Hamites selling Israelites or selling Shemites into slavery. It had everything to do with Muslim Africans selling African Africans into slavery, or Islamic Africans selling Africans they call infidels or idolaters into slavery. That is the historical reality. And also, Muslim Africans, later in time, Muslim Africans also sold other Muslim Africans into slavery. Yes. But it had nothing to do with Hamites selling Israelites, okay? If you want to know that, you go to the Bible. You go to the book of Exodus. That is a story on that. That has nothing to do with West Africa. So, I'm going to cut it short there. Okay? That's all I have to say. Judean MsShayla. Acknowledge your ancestors, your African ancestors. Know that you are an African. Know that by blood and by lineage, you are an African. And by faith and by belief and by religion, you are a Hebrew Israelite. That is the truth, and that is the historical reality. And I love you, my sister. You are a beautiful person on the outside and inside, and I just hope you wake up and know this truth and stop teaching the fake history that you are teaching, because you are causing division and you don't even know it. Yes, you are unaware of it. So that is all for today. This is your brother Radio 1. And until next time, the Negroes stay African. And the Negroes stay Ethiopian. And until next time, Egypt stays in Africa. Peace and Amun Ra.